Sabres head coaches, very few become household names. A lot of Sabres head coaches end up getting fired within 2 to 3 years, and it's been a very slippery slope for the Sabres and the head coach position. In this video, I am going to tier list every single Sabres head coach in their existence. This tier list will be your usual tier list, S being the top rank, and then A, B, C, D, and F. It's safe to say we're going to see a whole lot of people towards the bottom of that tier list, but you never know. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with Lindy Ruff. Lindy Ruff, the current coach of the Buffalo Sabres. It's his second tenure as head coach. His first came in 1998. Again, had a lot of success with the Sabres, took them to the Stanley Cup playoffs and finals once. It was a great time in Sabres history. This current stretch is not as good, but still some time, potentially one more year left of it. Maybe he can right the wrong. And again, I think Lindy Ruff will be known as the greatest Sabres head coach of all time if he's able to get this team out of the playoff drought. I'm going to put Lindy Ruff in the A category. Again, Lindy Ruff is about as good as they come for Sabres head coaches. It's tough to put him into S. I don't think anyone's going to be in the S category just because the Sabres have never won a cup. But watching what Lindy Ruff did in, the very late 90s to the early 2000s, completely transformed that team, was really, given a good team as well, and, worked with them, adapted, and became a very solid head coach and has had success elsewhere in the league as well. So, Lindy Ruff I'm putting as an A. Could easily become an S if he gets this current group to the playoffs. We'll see what happens. Moving on to Don Granato. Don Granato was the Sabres head coach from 2021 to 2024. Had a .495 win percentage with the team throughout his tenure. And Don Granato, honestly, got a bad rap, didn't have any defense on his teams whatsoever, and he coached all offensively, right? Kind of throwing caution to the wind. I got to put Don Granato in the C category, though. Again, one really good year where the team missed the playoffs by 1 point, but I can't put him higher than C. I wanted to go B, trust me, I really did. But Don Granato, again, it just ended so abruptly, so terribly that, it left a sour taste in all of our mouths. So I think Don Granato, was a B tier head coach until that last year, but I think, he'll always be just a developmental head coach, and there's a reason he's not hired in the league. Moving on to the next guy as we move backwards here in Sabres history, Ralph Krueger. Oh, man, we talk about bad head coaches. This guy would top the list in that one. Ralph Krueger coached the team from 2020 to 2021, had a .433 win percentage, and of course was part of that, 18-game losing streak or something like that. I don't know. It's just absolutely embarrassing. Again, the soccer man himself. He is our first F of the video. Ralph Krueger, if you really are just feeling amazing. You're feeling almost too good. You're feeling, like you need a reset in life. Watch Sabres games under Ralph Krueger and you will be back to normal, just like that. That is how depressing Sabres hockey was under Ralph Krueger. Moving on to our next guy, Phil Housley. Phil Housley coached the team from 2018 to 2019, had a .421 win percentage. Again, really bad team on the ice, and Phil Housley definitely didn't help out behind the bench. He is going to go right into that F category as well, and we're going to have a stretch of guys that are going to be very close to that category. Phil Housley, a guy who I honestly don't know. Again, a great Sabres player, one of the best Sabres defensemen of all time, but behind the bench as a head coach, he was absolutely atrocious, and many former Sabres defenders have said his systems were just super confusing and really threw off. Again, watching guys like Ristolainen under him, and Dahlin's early years were under Phil Housley as well. Just a whole lot of confusion going on. So Phil Housley, another F. Again, that win percentage just atrocious. Moving on to our next guy, Dan Biolsma, a guy who has bounced around in the league. Again, he's one of the few former Sabres head coaches to actually get a job after being fired from the Sabres. very rare because the Sabres usually are just picking up bottom feeders, as you can tell from the earlier names on this list. But yeah, Dan Biolsma, a guy who had a ton of success with Pittsburgh, but even they got rid of him after they won cups with him. Dan Biolsma had a .485 win percentage with the team. Again, you're not going to see really anyone over 500 until we get way back in the day. Dan Biolsma, a guy, coached the team 2016 through 2017, 2 seasons there. I got to put him in the C category as well. Again, not as bad as a Ralph Krueger or a Phil Housley, but he also had a better team, in my opinion, and was just unable to get that team to the playoffs. Also, again, the locker room throughout the last 5 coaches I mentioned was just really bad as well, really toxic, and Dan Biolsma didn't fix that at all. So, yep, a C head coach there. Moving on to Ted Nolan. Again, Ted Nolan, a guy who had multiple tenures as his head coach for the Sabres. The first one came in 1996. The second one came and ended in 2015. So 4 total seasons as Sabres head coach. He had a .425 win percentage. Ted Nolan, though, I am going to give a C, even though it was a pretty bad win-loss record under Ted Nolan. I think Ted Nolan was a grittier head coach, a guy who got the best out of what he had. And, Ted Nolan, again, if he was given a better team, could easily be a B or A head coach. I think he was, the perfect guy for the job. But at the end of the day, just didn't have the team to really let him prove himself. And as we know, Ted Nolan has not gotten a head coaching job since, but his son was also on the Sabres as well, and that's always going to be a core memory for me. Moving on to Ron Rolston, 2013 and 2014, 2 seasons, had a .431 win percentage. This guy is going in the D category. Ron Rolston, a guy who not many Sabres fans like, and I think we all know why. Just bad teams, and it's tough to really rate anyone under this drought era as a solid head coach. Moving on to John Muckler, 1992 to 1995, had a .530 win percentage there. Again, we're skipping years because keep in mind Lindy Ruff had his first tenure in between Muckler and Rolston. So if we wanted to separate Lindy Ruff, I would put that version of Lindy Ruff into S, the current one into B. So that's why we're averaging at them into the A category. But Muckler, again, very solid head coach. Again, it didn't end all that well, but I got to give him a B. I think, looking back, and of course this is before my time, so I didn't get to see this team on the ice. But, just looking analytically wise and, some quotes and all that, got to give him a B. Solid head coach, but obviously glad they got Lindy Ruff after that. Moving back even further to Rick Dudley, a .535 win percentage. Only coached the team 3 seasons, though. I'm going to give Dudley a B as well. I'm going to move more quickly through these guys who are back in the day because the game has changed so much. It's tough to compare coaches, that have all this analytical stuff that they analyze to these coaches back in the day who were, based off sheer vibes and pep talks and, systems, stuff like that. So Dudley in the B. Then we have Ted Sator, who coached the team for 3 years, a .517. Going to put him in B as well. Moving down to Craig Ramsey. Craig Ramsey, 1 year. Again, just kind of a temporary head coach, .238 win percentage. Craig Ramsey, you're going into F for that. Again, not a permanent fixture by any means, but did not have a whole lot of success at all as head coach in that very brief stint that he had with the team. So definitely going into F. Next guy up is Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman coached the team from 1980 to 1987. Had a .594 win percentage with the team. I believe .500 in the playoffs. Scotty Bowman is getting an A. Again, one of those household names that I mentioned we're not going to hear too many of this video. I think him and Lindy Ruff are probably the 2 names you think of when you think of Sabres head coaches throughout the years. Bowman obviously being the first guy that you would think of if you're going from the start of the franchise to now, and then you get to Lindy Ruff and you're like, oh, there's another guy I know if you're watching this video and you're not a Sabres fan. Other than that, you probably don't recognize any of these names. next up on the list, Jim Schoenfield, again, a guy who coached the team for 1 year, 500 win percentage, going in to be, again, a temporary fix there, but, the win percentage does not lie. We're going to combine the next two guys into one, Jim Roberts and Roger Nielsen. Both coached the team for 1 season. Both had very solid records, over 500. Roberts actually had a 556 win percentage. Both guys going to go in the B category. Again, this is before the Sabres drought. This is before the Sabres were known as a joke in the league. Still rotating the head coaches like crazy, but we will certainly take that. And then the next guy, Billy Inglis, 333 win percentage. There's a reason he was only here 1 season. Going to go in the D category. And then the final 4 guys, Marcel Pronovost, Floyd Smith, Joe Crozier, and Punch Imlach. Punch Imlach being the first Sabres head coach. We're all going to put those guys into the C category. Again, not much to base off of. But that was the first around 10 years of the Sabres' existence. And they had some success, mostly under Floyd Smith, a 500 win percentage. The rest of them were under 400. So Floyd Smith, maybe we'll bump Floyd Smith up to B, actually. We'll make a quick change there. But the rest of those 3 can stay in the C category. So that is going to be the end of this video. Again, just ranking Sabres head coaches on the tier list. Anything before the first era of Lindy Ruff, I did not get to see results on the ice. So basically just looking over stats. I know there'll be some people in the comments that'll fill me in on some of that and potentially disagree with some of the ratings. But hopefully you guys agree with at least the first 7 or 8 rankings I had in this video. And we'll definitely be doing the same concept video for other, maybe positions. Maybe we'll flip over to the football side of things and do Bills head coaches or Bills quarterback, stuff like that. Let me know if you like this style of video. Leave a like. Definitely comment your thoughts. Again, I know people are going to disagree, especially with some of the older ones. And make sure you subscribe if you guys are new. Thank you guys for watching this video, and have a good one. Peace out.